And welcome back to part 36 of Final Fantasy XV. Today we're at the last stretch of Xegnorta's Keep. After today will be an endgame, but we'll be completely done with this dungeon. We've still got a fair bit to show off though, obviously in the main game, and that's ignoring all the stuff post game. But we're getting there, and it's getting a bit exciting now as we search for Prompto. Who, by the way, wasn't actually too far away from where we left off, like we're going to find him not too long from now. But I wanted to make this part in the next part, so I wanted to show how Gladio and Ignis got to where they got to first, before persevering onwards. There is some nice loot around it, like that bulletproof suit, that's pretty handy, it's cool to have. And other notes around that you can find to help explain about what happened with the gods, what the goddesses, the demons, and all the usual lore jargon, but it's still interesting to read if you've got the time to read it. So you can always just pause the video and read through them. I don't care. If anything, I'd encourage it. Have a bit of fun with this. But as you go over here, there's a button you can press or interact with that allows you to move on. So that door over there was just for loot and whatnot and some notes. You can just persevere on this way. Which, this direction is where we'll find Prompto, because the last door we can go through is to reach the final stretch of the dungeon. So let's go save our boy Prompto, eh? After we get more loot. What do we get? I want to say that's Expiricast, and that's just a muscle stimulant, that's just what it is. Alright, I'm a bit of a dick here. You can see Prompto in the back locked to a wall, and I go out of my way to check all the sites anyway, see if there's loot, because there is. You get an old book for your troubles. Not sure what the old book does, what the old book could be fused with magic to make. But as you go through here, we managed to find Prompto. This cutscene I'm going to talk over, but the next one I'm not. And I'll get to what I mean, because this one is important because we do find him, but it's not as important. It's just, I'm fine, let's go on. Because Prompto isn't going to tell us straight away about all his secrets, he just thanks us for saving his neck.
Tell me, were you worried about me?
Of course we was, you twit. The first thing Noctis made a point out of the moment Prompto was gone was, we need to stop the train! We gotta go save Prompto!
Of course.
Not with that many voice cracks, but you know what I mean. I was exaggerating.
I believed you would, Prompto. That's why I told myself I couldn't die.
But Prompto persevered through everything. Not just through the stuff in episode Prompto. It's implied that he went through quite a bit more, because we saw a hint at the end that Ardyn knew where Prompto was going, and got a hold of him again. And by the looks of all the bruises and marks on him, he got tortured and terrorized a little bit before we got here. But he persevered and held on. So we have the full crew back. Yeah, let me move. Thank you. And you're going to see me try in a minute to try and like go through and reassort the gear. But no one in the team is supposed to have their gear yet. Even though Gladiolus and Ignis technically do, because of what happened. No one is really supposed to be able to have their weapons back, so you're going to see me like at some point try and go through my gear and just not be able to. Also, just for this section again, we're back to walking speed only. Thankfully the game is a lot more forgiving about it in this section. They don't you're not going to get teleported back sort of thing, you're not going to get punished too much. As long as you just kind of keep a steady pace, you should be fine. But we need to find a device sealing Noctis's powers. Once you destroy that machine, then everyone can get their weapons back properly and they can reassort gear. Because everyone's beaten their episodes now, so everyone has access to their episode weapons. Or everyone can use it, so that means Ignis can use the spell daggers, and Prompto can use, I want to say it's called Deadshot, but I might be misremembering. All three of them being pretty mighty weapons, in their own regard. And, if I dare say it, actually pretty well balanced now. When you think about the point you're supposed to get them, yeah, they're more powerful than anything else you'll have at that point, but there's still more powerful things in the game. Some of which people will be getting in a not too distant future. I cut there because I wanted to save some recording, just, you know, and make sure everything's tucked away, because I've got a lot of recording files in this game. It's something like over 30 gigabytes now. Just spare left, and that's like the rest of the game. It's ridiculous. But as we head over here, we're going to find the source of the power, which was with that door that didn't load in, but it was supposed to be closed and locked, that I mentioned 2 parts ago. So we got a big cutscene now, so I'm going to shut up for this one.
Door's locked. It's coming from within. Is there no way through?
There's a way. So, MTs, they've got those code prints. Just like I do.
Do they? Never looked.
Yeah. So, as it turns out, I'm one of them. Not exactly something I could tell people growing up in Lucis. Still, you guys are like the only friends I've ever known. I just hope that things can stay the way they were.
Whatever. Who cares where you were born? I don't see you turning against us. Not now or ever.
Thanks, guys. Still, I can't change where I came from. What I am.
Since when does where you come from matter to you? You never once treated me as a prince.
It's got you there. Never so much as a highness.
We're done here. Come on, crown citizen.
You're one of us, right? Unless you'd rather not be.
See, Prompto, you're all worried for nothing. They all love you, really. They don't care where you're from, it's who you are. That's what matters. That's the message we're getting from here. Anyway, if you look around, there's some wires you can... I was going to say pull out, but that's definitely the wrong way of explaining what just we did there. But when you destroy it, you will get the ability to get your powers back because the device sealing the royal power is gone. That same power was what was used in Kingsglaive to help aid the Empire in taking over Insomnia in the Crown City.
Go on, try it.
But we got our powers back, so it means I could also rearrange my gear again. Yay!
We're back, baby.
Did you just slap his ass? Alright. I don't remember that bit. I don't remember Prompto slapping his ass. So I end up... This is just me quickly rearranging my inventory again, putting it the way I want it. So I put the ring at the bottom, because it's where I prefer it to be. I put the strongest broadsword on our left, which I believe is still the Thunderbolt. And then here, I debate with myself for a second, putting back on the katana, but then I eventually could just commit to the Sword of the Father. We've also got the Trident now, like I said, because we got that from Shiva. We have to re-equip a shield for him. And we can now put on the spell daggers for Ignis. And then finally we can put Lionheart, not Deadshot. Deadshot, I was thinking of something else. Lionheart on for Prompto, and that's everyone's DLC weapons equipped. But like I said, we will be getting more powerful equipment as we go on, so if you haven't been doing the DLC, don't stress too much. Like if you've just got the base game, don't worry about it too much. You will be getting a more powerful weapon than them, not in the not too distant future. Oh god, hello. This is supposed to be the same one that we hid away from in the first Zygnortis Keep part. The one that we killed with Alterna and then respawned later on. That we were supposed to stealth around. You're going to get a lot of that now. You're going to get a lot of enemies that you were supposed to sneak by beforehand. That some of which we did sneak by, some of which we just murdered and then they get immediately respawned. That we're now going to get a chance to fight properly and kill them properly now we've re-equipped. And you're also going to see me have a moment of misremembering where I'm supposed to go. Because I thought, well, maybe it's down these stairs over here. But no, it's just blocked off. That's just a scenery thing. You're supposed to, like, backtrack on your backtrack. Because we backtracked back to here. Now we're backtracking back to where we found Prompto. To go through that last door. Because it's split into 3 different doors. One had the loot, one led to Prompto. And then one is now where we're heading towards to go and get out of here. That's probably the most readable parry in the game. Because it takes a proper step back. Also, you can also get the chance now to swap between your characters again, except Ignis, because, you know, he's blind. But in the not too distant future, we will be able to swap to Ignis again, because you might have noticed that Ignis' combat abilities have been improving on his own, as he's slowly but surely adjusted to his differences.
No weapons, no friends, no choice really. You know, somebody here's got to fight to rescue the crystal.
Now he's sounding like a king.
Not to mention rescue all of your asses.
Spoken like a true king.
There we go. Also, these guys are a joke to fight now. I mean, they already were because they overbuffed the ring, And I'm never going to let that go, that they should have... rebalancing the ring, yeah, I get, but I can't help but feel like they could have left it for this chapter, but then just made it more powerful in the main game. Like when you're outside of this chapter, like when you're in the overworld sort of thing, like I felt like I needed to re-clarify because this is the main game, but you know what I mean. Because I feel like the ring just, it makes it too trivial. It makes this whole area way too pathetic in difficulty. The only challenging thing being the two boss fights near the end of this place, because they're boss fights. But we've got another little cutscene coming on, and this little cutscene doesn't actually play here. It plays at the end of episode Prompto, post-credits, but I wanted to leave it in here because I thought it was more fitting to put it here. So I'm going to have to shut up again.
Hey, I'm sorry.
For what?
For falling right into his trap. And for hurting you like that.
I know, right? How could you possibly do such a horrible thing? After everything we've been through. Nah. It's okay. You're not the only one who fell for it.
Once this is all over, I say we break down the borders. Come together as one nation.
Huh?
I mean, what does it matter where you're from, anyway?
You know, I never thought I'd say this, but you sounded like a real king for a second.
Better late than never. I'm gonna make this world a better place. You with me?
Uh-huh. Ever at your side.
Like I said, that cutscene was in the post-credit scene for episode Prompto. Yeah, I felt it wouldn't have fitted if I had put it there. Because, well, it wouldn't have. It was an event that happened whilst we was in chapter 12 of about an event that happens in the later half of chapter 13. Like, it wouldn't fit. It would have been spoilers. So I avoided using it, cut it out, and then just edited it back in, and then edited on a few little extras on top of it just to sort of help it out a little bit, like showing the black and white footage. That was me adding that in on top of it, just to sort of give that little extra. And I'll be doing the same for another bit as well. The post-credit scene for episode Ignis is also set in something later on, so that wasn't shown during episode Ignis and won't be shown until we get to it and it makes sense for it to be there. But up and coming, we haven't got that much left of the dungeon. I'll keep on hinting at it, but this really is the home stretch of it now. As, oh yeah, we demolished that regalia Prompto, sorry about that. Oops.
Took one for us. Saved our lives.
Yeah. But up ahead, we've got a mook rush here, and you're locked in here, well, except for that door over there, obviously. You're locked in here until they're all dead. So I'm just going to alternate them, because at this point I did want to get a move on, because this dungeon is technically the longest dungeon in the game. Like, the only place that you could argue is bigger is the post-game puzzle dungeon that we'll get to. But that one, if you know what you're doing, you could probably still argue is shorter, because there's YouTube videos of people doing it in under half an hour. And so if people can do it under half an hour and they know what they're doing, in this one, I know exactly what I'm doing in this dungeon, yet it's still taking us 3 parts, technically 4 if you count the Gladioverse 2 side, to get through it all. This is the longest dungeon. But up ahead, we're that close to it that we've only got an item shop and then our boss fights, really. With the item shop really being the biggest giveaway that you're about to get to the end fight, because we haven't got any here. The stuff that is sold in the item shop here is the same stuff that was sold at Katanica when we went to go get the katana back in chapter 10. So if there was anything you couldn't buy there, you could buy it now. However, just like in Katanica, I am hesitant to say, yeah, you should buy it, because there's better equipment you're getting in the future. And what I mean by the future now is that it's chapter 14, right at the start of chapter 14, you're getting better equipment, and we're now at the home stretch of chapter 13. So, it might be worth it if you're a bit broke to not worry about it and just leave them and then get the better weapons later. because the better weapons you're going to get, 2 of the 3 are better than the episode weapons. The only one it's not as good as, I believe, is Prompto's. That's because Prompto's DLC is based the latest. And so I'm guessing they just made his weapon a bit more powerful to suit. I'll rearrange my inventory a little bit, but it's not too much. We just have a second bulletproof suit so I can give it to someone if I choose to. I can't remember who I give it to, if I give it to anyone. And I also highlight that the Wyvern Lance I just brought isn't as good as the Radiant Lance that I've already got. So not everything here is worth your money anyway. And then after I'm going to go to the actual item bit and restock a bit more on items, because it feels like that's all we've been doing since Costelmark is restocking on everything. Seriously, that puts such a hole in all my equipment. It's kinda ridiculous. But as we approach the final fights of Zegnortis Keep, we have this long corridor. Like, this is just like as fast as we're allowed to move in it, which is quite annoying, but it is what it is. Thankfully though, we don't get stopped by Ignis, because our slower speed here is still fast enough for Iggy to keep up enough for us to trigger this cutscene. And this is where we're going to have our last stand against the real Emperor, the Emperor of Niflheim, now known as the Demon Thoras. Thoras is level 35 with 18,200 HP, has a strength stat of 8,930, vitality of 184 and spirit of 178. He has a 20% weakness to shields and pole arms, is 50% resistant to fire, has a 20% weakness to lightning and light. So if you've got the ring on and you can dodge an attack, you will be taking 20% extra damage from it. He is resistant but not immune to instant kills, so you can actually cast Alterna on this fight and end the boss fight immediately because, you know, they buffed the bloody ring. Which is a bit of a shame because this is the important boss fight moment of him and he's just kind of a joke, especially if you've actually like been using the ring. You've already killed him a bunch of times. Also worth mentioning, now he's finished his speech, if you go out of your way to attempt to kill him beforehand at any of the encounter points, he has a 3% chance of dropping an item called the Crusader's Anklet. You're not that likely to get it, because I say it's 3%, and it's how patient are you prepared to be. But I've got to try and find the stats of it now. Hang on. Hang on, it's a long list. Hopefully I'll get enough time. I'm not going to get enough time, because the next boss is right here. Choker, bracelet. I've got a long list of all the equipment. 1 second. Crusader's Anklet. Increase your vitality by 80%. So that's pretty cool. 80%. But next boss, and this one is just really depressing after everything I said about Ravus last part. Ardyn's enough of a dick that he infused all that demonic energy into Ravus, but not enough. Ravus has still got his conscience. And that's why he's saying all the way through it, like, although his body has lost control, he was just going, kill me, end it, things like that. It's really depressing, like, that this is the eventual outcome of Ravus. And it also ups his height a little bit as well. Like, he's a lot taller than he was because of demonic energy stretching all his limbs, which is just kind of grotesque to think about. But Demon Ravus is level 44 with 275,000 HP, a strength stat of 8,000, vitality of 148 and spirit of 152. He is neutral to all physical weaponry, has a 20% weakness to light, so if you've got the ring, holy dodging is helpful, but is 50% resistant to all magic. He is immune to instant kill, resistant to Alterna according to this, so you could probably use Alterna on him and end the fight immediately if you get lucky, but why would you want to do that? Because this is a very important, significant fight. He's immune to poison and stop, and drops nothing. But his entire strategy here is that he relies on Dark Elemency. Dark Elemency we've yet to have any encounter with beforehand, and the best way to describe it, you know Almighty in Persona, where it's that one element that has no physical way of being weak or resistant to, no matter what, you will always be hit by neutral? Yeah, that's that. Dark Element in this game will always hit you, no matter what your resistant and weakness loadout is set out to be, it will always hit you for neutral. Which makes it something that you can worry a little less about if you have set something that's made you weak to fire or ice, or electric or light or whatever. But at the same time, it can be a pain in the arse if you've been spending a lot of time boosting your resistance to elements, as now you're useless to it. But this theme, man, Ravus's theme here is one of my favourite themes in the bass track, so I'm tempted to shut up for a while, but I want to give it enough time because of how how SHAREfactory works and not letting me do only so many voice cuts as I can. I want to talk about this fight more a little bit because he's got an AoE attack that he will always charge up as well, so you want to make your distance from. You can block and parry it to an extent, but your teammates won't. If you back away from it, everyone else on your team will also back away from it, so you can keep the whole team going. This fight, if you're not ready for it or slightly under-leveled, is actually a really difficult fight. I've heard a lot of people say they've ended up wasting a lot of Phoenix downs, like especially if you're under-leveled. If you're like level 40 odd, like if you haven't been doing the side stuff, you'll almost definitely be like late 30s or early 40s at this point. Ravus can kick your ass. Demon Ravus can really wreck your shit if you're not prepared. But as we reach the last stretch of the fight, I will now actually shut up for the theme, because they will then carry on into the cutscene. So that being said, enjoy one of my favourite themes in this game.
Ignis!
I let you down.
I'll see that.
Gladio.
Try this!
Prompto.
A sorry end for the High Commander. For anyone. He was a man with hopes and dreams.
Ugh. It's horrible.
What kind of fiend makes demons of men?
Look alive! Company!
Although now the main boss of this dungeon is finished, we're not out of the woods yet. They said look alive company, but there's nothing here. Sure, thanks for that, Gladio. But no, there's a lot of enemies that are going to spawn. They spawn infinitely. No matter what you do, they will keep on coming. Eventually, the team will instruct you to persevere on without them, and they will linger back and continue fighting on, whilst you, only as in control of Noctis, will persevere because we're so close now. The crystal that we came all this way to find and get back in the first place, because they stole it from us when they killed King Regis, is very close to where we are now. And if the barrier now down for it, thanks to Gladio's efforts, we can go get it. We just need to get there. That's what we need to do, because the crystal can eradicate the demons. It's the origin point for it, which is why they've got it locked away. Because more and more of these guys are going to spawn and show up, so we need to get out of here. Which is why you're seeing me linger over here, because I'm waiting for the cutscene to advance long enough for it to open the lift passage. Oh, shut up, Ardyn. This is the power of brotherhood. This is the power of teamwork. I trust Gladio, Ignis, and Prompto to survive this, which they do. They're a very sturdy bunch, regardless of it Ardyn's teasing. But we've just got to persevere. Also, I get clipped. Did you see that? I got clipped down on the lift.
Please stand clear.
And we're on a time limit to get over there as well. But I've never failed this. Like, similar to the one in episode Prompto, the time limit is kind of overly generous. Unless you sit around and choose to fight all these enemies, which you shouldn't really do anyway, because the whole point is to move on regardless. You should have more than enough time to make this. Like, yeah, goodbye. There we go. See, it was just easy as that. We're not going to lose them. They're going to fight on. Look at them. They're fine. Especially Gladio. I mean, he just has to counter everything and he's fine. Just tap square, man. Just keep on tapping that square button, you'll be fine.
Don't die on me.
But now we're back to Noctis again. I like the full circle effect of this chapter. We started out with just Noctis on this chapter, got everyone back, and then had to let them go again to persevere the final stretch as just Noctis again. It's a cool idea for a chapter. Like I said, I think this chapter gets way too much grief. It's a good chapter. The only issue I really have with it is the overbuffing of the ring. Like, I get that people were unhappy with how weak the ring was and whatnot, but there was a way about it, and I felt like they really went overkill with it.
I swear.
I felt like the enemies, some enemies, and especially like the mini bosses, shouldn't be able to die by it without any effort, sort of thing, when they're that important. But anyways, we persevere down this long corridor. We are finally at the crystal after all this time. Since, because keep in mind, it was taken technically back in like part 3 or 4, whatever part of, I think it was Change of Plans part 4, when the Insomnia invasion happened. So we haven't had the crystal for over 30 parts.
Your journey is over, Noct.
Not quite, Ardyn. We've still got a bit more of this journey. But here's the crystal. Like a staple of the franchise is that there's always a crystal that's an origin point of power. Usually there's 4, but in this one there's only the 1. But we've got a very lengthy cutscene for the rest of this, so I'm going to shut up and say next time on Final Fantasy 15 we'll find out what happens next, and that's about as brief as I can make it. But until then, you guys take care now.
Please. Help me stop the demons. Why?
Unharmed by the light of the chosen king. Allow me to regale you with a tale. In an age long past, an incurable scourge ravaged mankind. A tiny menace that twisted men into monsters, the likes of which you've seen. In Lucis lived a savior who could cure the afflicted. His body would come to host myriad demons. Countless lives be spared. But a jealous king, one chosen by the crystal, ostracized and demonized this healer of the people, making a true monster of him. I gave you my name earlier, but you should know that it was not the name given to me at birth. Ardyn Lucis Kylum is my proper name. You'll never guess whose name this linear was. Killing this mortal will bring me strength and satisfaction. Claim the crystal's power, arise as its champion. Only once the crystal and king are no more, I know redemption. Come back soon. I shall keep your friends company until you are.
Gather strength, O chosen. this world falls to the King of Kings. His providence consecrated in the divine light of the crystal. So it is ordained, the revelation of Bahamut. The heart of the crystal, wherein lies the soul of the star. And it is in this place that the king will gain the power to fulfill his calling. They stand against the darkness and abide in hope, sustained by faith unfaltering that their king shall arise and bring deliverance. By the covenants awakened, the six have seen the coming of the prophesied hour. A time when the crystal shall have shed the entirety of its light unto the ring. Only then, once the sacred ring is replete, can the true king complete his ascension. And only by the true king's hand can the immortal accursed be banished and the light restored to this world. A man cursed with life eternal, whose immortality stems from the self-same scourge that wrought the demons. One so impure of body and soul was deemed unworthy of the crystal's light and forbidden to ascend. His mind twisted by spite and bent on revenge, the usurper came to bring darkness down upon our world. Only the true king, chosen by the crystal and guarded by his forebears, can end the accursed's madness. It is the sole means to ending the immortal accursed. A power greater than even that of the six, purifying all by the light of the crystal and the glaives of rulers past. Only at the throne can the chosen receive it, and only at the cost of a life his own. The King of Kings shall be granted the power to banish the darkness, but the blood price must be paid. To cast out the usurper and usher in dawn's light will cost the life of the chosen. Many sacrificed all for the king, so must the king sacrifice himself for all. Now enter into reflection, let the light of providence shine